The new final rule for digital accessibility under Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act was officially published in the Federal Register on April 24th, 2024. And I am on the page for the final rule right now. I will link to it in the description, but I want to focus in on this April 24 date because that date directly impacts the compliance dates. So scrolling down the document, we see a section called compliance dates, and it has a public entity other than a special district government with a population of 50,000 or more shall begin complying with this rule on April 24th, 2026. So 2 years from the date this was published. And then we have a public entity with a total population of 50,000 or less, or any public entity that is a special district government shall begin complying with this rule on April 26, 2027. So we see that these smaller entities have 3 years for compliance. But I highly recommend that public entities begin working towards compliance right now, because digital accessibility can take much longer than you anticipate. And we're talking about not just websites, but mobile apps, web applications. We're talking about content on social media, web content in general, and then different digital assets such as documents, so PDFs, PowerPoints, spreadsheets, etc. So that can be quite an endeavor, and you're really going to need all of this time. What I recommend is that your team begin training on digital accessibility right now. So the standards that the DOJ incorporated into this final rule are WCAG 2.1 AA. I have a video that is a WCAG 2.1 AA checklist. I will link to that video in the description. I also have a course that covers all of the success criteria under WCAG 2.1 AA. I will link to that course in the description. But the most important part is that you get started right away. And I think what's important about training is not only will you learn about digital accessibility, but you will learn what you need from third-party vendors as you source different services, if you want to source different services. But you will need to begin with compliance right away, because this can take much longer than you think it can, especially if you have a number of different digital assets. So I will link to all of those resources in the description.